The NBA playoffs have started off crazy, and they continue to be crazy, especially in round 2 of the NBA playoffs as the Pacers go up 2-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Golden State Warriors win on the road against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, aka Six Man Shenanigans Podcast. You guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And I've said it before, and I don't know how or when this is going to stop, but the playoffs continue to be absolutely crazy. The Indiana Pacers get a win over the Cleveland Cavaliers, 120-119, and this is a game in which the Cleveland Cavaliers led throughout the majority of this game. But the Indiana Pacers score 34 points while only giving up 21 points in the fourth quarter to be able to seal this game out. Tyrese Haliburton hitting a game-winning shot, right? This playoffs this year, right? And no hyperbole, no cap, right? Has been every bit of exciting. Like, you've had all the drama that you could possibly have with game-winning shots, everything that you look for, comeback victories, all that type of stuff in these games, and it's really been crazy to see how frequently this has been happening. The Pacers go on a 12-3 run to start off the fourth quarter, right? In that run, in the beginning of that, they were down 98-84 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. By the end of that run, they're only down by 5 points, 101-96. They then go on an 18-8 run. They basically match that. They come out of that with 35 seconds left. In the fourth quarter, the Cavs are up 119-114, up by 5 points with 35 seconds left on the clock. The Pacers then go on a 6-0 run over the last 27 seconds of that game to win it by 1. And Tyrese Haliburton clinches it with a game-winning 3-point shot. And it just, I don't know what to say. Like, this, the fact that the Cavs are even down 0-2 to start off the second round of the playoffs is wild. Now, that puts the Cavs in a place where they are going to Indiana. They started off with home court advantage. The Indiana Pacers snatched that away. They're going to Indiana, and now they're in a position where they have to win 4 out of the next 5 games if they want to win this series. That is absolutely wild and unexpected. I don't care how you had this coming out, right? But there are very few people, if they're being 100% honest, that had this to where even if you had the Pacers stealing a game, right, to start off this, that had the Pacers stealing both games at home to start off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, let's be clear. The Cavs have their own thing. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, missing DeAndre Hunter. Like, they're missing key pieces to it. And that's the unfortunate part about all this, because with the Cavs season and what it's been, being able to have your team fully healthy would have been legit. It would have been amazing to see. But unfortunately, you're not getting that in this series, man. Like, this has just been some of the craziest playoffs that I've ever seen in my life, right? But in this game, Tyrese Haliburton only scores 19 points. That's what's crazy about all this. 7 of 11 from the field, 9 rebounds, 4 assists in this game, 1 block. You have 23 points each from Miles Turner and Aaron Naismith, 12 points from Pascal Siakam, 13 from Nembhard in this. I always want to call him Nembhard. And then Ben Mathurin with 19 points off the bench. The Cavs, missing so much of their roster, they still got 48 points from Donovan Mitchell. And that's why I said things like before, like, yeah, you can have a great game from Donovan Mitchell. He can go absolutely nuclear on you, but you need things other than that. I mean, and for what it's worth, the Cavs led throughout the majority of this game. You got Jared Allen with 22 points. Max Strus scored 23-4. You got 14 from Sam Merrill off the bench, but you need depth, right? And missing Darius Garland, missing Evan Mobley, Evan Mobley's extremely important to their defense and their switching ability. And the Pacers just kept chipping away, right? The Pacers came into game 1 with an amazing game plan that pushed them to winning that game. And they came into game 2 and faced some adversity. They just kept chipping away at it. They started off the fourth quarter with the desperation that's needed, with the execution that's needed to get it done. And listen, it's crazy when it comes down to it, man. This series has been absolutely bonkers and wild to see how things have developed over the course of this. And now the Cleveland Cavaliers find themselves in a position where they're down 0-2 going to Indiana. And listen, if the Pacers were to let this go, it's going to be crazy if that were to happen, right? Again, the Cavs have to win 4 out of 5 games to be able to win this series. That's difficult to do, not with the way that these things have gone already, man. And I guess we'll see how it's going to go. Overall, we'll see what happens here. But listen, this Pacers team has been a Cinderella story, man, because not a lot of people, when you look at the start of their season, how bad they started off, a lot of people counted them out early. And the Pacers are a perfect example of why you can't count out players and teams with talent in the modern NBA. You just can't do it. So we'll see what happens with that one. But then let's go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I must say, with the way that Anthony Edwards played in round 1, nobody would be hold it against you if you look at this game and you're like, what happened, right? Anthony Edwards, who he went 9 of 22 from this. He did have 23. Like, if you just look at the box score, it looks decent. 23 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, but he went 9 of 22. And if you watch this game, in the first half of this game, I think he was like 1 of 11 in the first half of this game. And not to say that it was all on him, because it's not, right? It's not all on him. But Steph Curry went out in this game, right? I think after the first quarter, you didn't have Steph in this game, even though the Golden State Warriors had already started off with a tremendous lead in that, right? And it was in the second quarter. And despite that, the Minnesota Timberwolves are not able to capitalize on it and still win this game. Now, we'll see what the future holds for Steph and things in that, but like, this was a huge opportunity, right? After Steph left with that hamstring injury, this was an opportunity for the Minnesota Timberwolves to make sure to come back and get this and end this game with the win, right? But now, no, you allowed another road team to win, which, by the way, in the second round so far, none of the home teams have won a game. Buddy Hield has 24 points, going 5 of 8 from 3, 7 of 19 overall from the field, right? You have that from him. But the fact that this just seems like such a missed opportunity. And Chris Finch, the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, said this in regards to Anthony Edwards. You're the leader of the team. You have to come out and set the tone. And that is, right, when I've talked about before Anthony Edwards and the way that he's stepped up, the way that he's grown as a leader over this stretch, he's left a lot on the board. Like, in this one, you do have to set that tone. Having that, with the way that you've called yourself and your teammates out over the course of this season, you're the leader. You're needed to set the tone. And I would not be surprised at all if you don't see Anthony Edwards play much better in the next game, because I think he's going to take this to heart and realize how he really kind of dropped the ball for his team in this one. But overall, man, this is it's really crazy when it comes down to it, man. Jimmy did Jimmy. He did what needed to be done. Him scoring 20 points. You got 18 from Draymond Green, who went 4 of 10 from three-point range, but he started off like 4 or 5 from three-point range to start off with, hitting some big shots when needed. You got Buddy Hield. Pods didn't really give you anything. He was 1 of 7 in this game. But for Steph Curry to go down and for the Minnesota Timberwolves to lose this game, this puts the momentum in the Golden State Warriors' hand. And now the Timberwolves find themselves in a similar position to like the Cleveland Cavaliers. You cannot, like, game 2 is a must-win game for you now. You cannot afford to go down 0-2 to a veteran Golden State Warriors team before the series even shifts back to Golden State. You can't do that. You can't do that. And so, this is a stumble out the gate for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Make no mistake about it, right? But you look at it. One of the things that's really been hurting this Timberwolves team, they're 12 of 76 on three-pointers in their last two playoff games. That's the worst percentage in NBA history over a 2-game span. It is what it is there. You got to be better than that, right? They have to hit their threes, but they have to attack more. And hopefully the Minnesota Timberwolves are able to put this together. They've been such a good story, seeing Anthony Edwards and the confidence he's been playing with, but this is what it comes down to. You have to step up, right? And it seems like the players understand that. Chris Finch calling out Anthony Edwards after the game, again, respectively, right? Julius Randle putting it on himself as well, saying, I got to play better. I can't have 3 rebounds. This is a team that really shocked a lot of people with the way they were able to take care of the Los Angeles Lakers in round 1. You can't, this is not the time now to fall back down to earth, right? You got to get this together, because this is a team that in the Golden State Warriors, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And you've already done that a little bit, right? And so Anthony Edwards is getting this criticism. It's warranted. I want to be clear there. There's no way around that. It's going to happen when you come to this, right? But overall, like, you're going to have to figure out your way. You're going to have to figure out how to play and perform better. You have to figure out a way to get win in game 2 and shift that momentum back. A dominant win from the Minnesota Timberwolves in game 2 would shift this a lot, right? They still would have to go to Golden State and steal one of the games there, ideally win both of them. But, we'll see what happens here. But let me know, so far, through round 2, the 2 games that we got last night, who do you have winning game 2? How does that shape the series? The Pacers being down, or Pacers being up 2-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Do you think that they can come back, or the Cavs can come back against the Pacers? And do you think that this game 1 loss by the Minnesota Timberwolves is going to put the momentum completely in the Golden State Warriors' hands? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. We got another night of really good basketball coming up today. Hopefully, this playoffs has been absolute bananas. It's been crazy. And we'll see how it continues to go. I don't expect it to stop tonight by any stretch of the imagination. We got New York, Boston, Denver, Oklahoma City today. See how those games shape out. But let's get back into the kind of the rumor mill, right? Outside of playoff basketball, one of the lingering decisions are Fred VanVleet, what the Houston Rockets not only are going to do in this offseason, if they're going to pursue a star, whatever that looks like, but it's also what's going to happen with Fred VanVleet's contract. They have until May 9th to decide if they're going to pick up his option. But we do have an update on that. They may actually get put up a little bit. There are discussions with this. This is said. The Rockets are in discussions to move the decision date on Fred VanVleet's player option to the end of June. Under the original terms, Houston must decide on VanVleet's $44.9 million team option for 2025 this week, which was May 9th, 2 days away from now. So now that there is some discussion on moving that date back, I think that makes sense, right? The Houston Rockets are going to want some time to really kind of survey the field. I do think pushing that back to the end of June makes some sense. You'll have the draft lottery to see what kind of shakes out there, what teams could be interested, what could become available at that point in time. So we'll see what happens there. Overall, I think it's a smart move for both sides. And it does show that the Houston Rockets aren't looking at this as where they're guaranteed to kind of move on from Fred VanVleet. And we'll see what happens there overall when it comes down to that. But I know I've talked about this on episode before, after the Houston Rockets with Jalen Green, things like that. I would be really surprised. And I know the Rockets are a young team and they still have players that are really still developing and figuring out their way. I'll be really surprised if this Houston Rockets team is the same going into next year. Whether it's using Fred VanVleet's contract, whether it's using Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, your picks, whatever it is, a combination of those things, there's going to be a significant change. And I think the Houston Rockets are really going to be shopping. They're going to be buyers this year in the offseason, trying to find that go-to scorer that they need and take on that risk while Amin Thompson is really kind of developing as well to figure out what's going to happen here, right? But another team that's going to be looking to make some moves is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers, right? And, there's some questions on what the Lakers are going to be willing to do to go out and try to find their next player and things like that. Well, there was a trade proposal, not by me. I want to be clear here. This did not come from me. This came from Clutch Points. Bailey Bassett wrote this one in pushing a Nick Claxton for Austin Reeves offseason trade because you need a center. Now, here's what I'll say on that. You canceled a trade that would have got you a center while you would have maintained Austin Reeves and maybe been able to move him this offseason and get some other things done, right? And, that's just the thing when it comes down to it. Rescinding that trade is still crazy. We've heard more details on why that happened, of course, after the season ended, as was expected. But overall, here's what I'll say. I know that Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic all put up solid numbers towards the end of that season. They finished the season. They had to have a great game to end that season to finish with not a negative net rating when they were on the court together. And that may be something that the Los Angeles Lakers are looking at when it comes down to this, right? But overall, right, the Los Angeles Lakers have been so reluctant to include Austin Reeves in deals in the past, right? We've heard things like Zach LaVine was somebody that they could have gotten, but they didn't want to include Austin Reeves. I think that was even a thing around Dame, if I'm not mistaken, right? I have to go back and look at that one. But when it comes down to it, if they're now willing to kind of use Austin Reeves to go out and get that guy that they need, okay. But again, you probably shouldn't have canceled the Mark Williams trade. Now, they're going to be aggressive about going out there and getting it. But I don't know if that's going to happen. In this trade proposal, the Lakers would get Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson in exchange for Austin Reeves, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, and a 2031 first-round pick. That's a lot to give up. Now, Cam Johnson, I like a lot. And I like Nick Claxton again in a specialized role, and that could be there. But are you willing to give up Austin Reeves for that? Now, again, I'm not a guy who follows the Lakers day in and day out, so it comes down to it, but it really does put a highlight on that canceled trade for Mark Williams and how that would have given you a lot of what you're trying to get here without giving up Austin Reeves, and then you would have had Austin Reeves to use as a trade chip this offseason. We'll see what happens there ultimately. We'll see what comes down, but I just think the Lakers are going to be looking to make moves, and sometimes you got to be willing to give up something that you want to get something that you need. And will that be the Lakers? I guess we'll see. You guys can let me know how you feel on that down below. Make sure you're following us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys next time I feel like making an episode, probably later on today, actually. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.